The lecture hall at the Galactic Defense Academy buzzed with quiet conversation as cadets from 12 different worlds settled into their seats. Commander HFY stood at the front, her forearms moving gracefully as she prepared her presentation. Her crystalline blue skin caught the light from the overhead projectors, casting small rainbows across the walls. She looked out at the diverse group before her. There were tall, thin Centaurians with their silver hair and large eyes. Short, stocky Altarians whose rocky skin looked like living stone. The floating energy forms of the Harmony Cluster delegates glowed softly in their containment suits. A few Jovian methane breathers sat in their special environmental pods, their 6 compound eyes reflecting the light. HFY had been teaching at the academy for 15 years. She had seen thousands of cadets pass through these halls. Most came from peaceful worlds where the biggest danger was a solar storm or an asteroid that wandered too close to their planet. They were good beings, intelligent and eager to serve in the Galactic Defense Force. But they were also soft. They came from worlds where everything was comfortable and safe. Today's lesson would change that. "Attention, cadets," HFY called out, her voice carrying easily through the room. The translation devices built into each seat converted her words into dozens of languages. Today we discuss a topic that may save your lives one day. We are going to talk about Deathworld species. A nervous ripple went through the room. Most of the cadets had heard whispers about Deathworlds, but few knew the details. These were planets that somehow produced intelligent life, despite conditions that would kill most civilized beings. HFY activated the holographic display. A spinning planet appeared above her head, its surface covered in what looked like boiling acid rain. "This is Corvax Prime," she said. "Home to the Corvaxians. The atmosphere is mostly sulfuric acid. The average temperature is hot enough to melt most metals, yet intelligent life evolved there." An image of a Corvaxian appeared. The creature was tall and thin, with skin that seemed to be made of living metal. Steam rose from its body and its eyes glowed with an inner fire. Corvaxians breathe acid vapor. Their saliva can eat through most known materials. They consider our comfortable room temperature to be dangerously cold. When they speak, their breath can blind or kill most species. Several cadets shifted uncomfortably in their seats. A few of the more nervous ones began taking notes on their personal devices. "But Corvaxians are not the worst," HFY continued. The display changed to show another world. This one seemed to flicker and shift, as if reality itself was uncertain. "This is Nethys, where space and time work differently. The Netherians who live there can phase in and out of existence. They can walk through walls, become invisible, or exist in several places at once." The image showed a creature that was hard to look at directly. It seemed to be there and not there at the same time. Its shape kept changing, sometimes looking like a tall humanoid, sometimes like a cloud of moving shadow. Netherians see reality as something that can be changed at will. They do not understand that other species cannot simply step through solid matter or exist in multiple dimensions. This makes them extremely dangerous to be around. HFY paused and looked around the room. She could see the fear in many of the cadets' eyes. Good. Fear would keep them alive. "These examples might make you think that Deathworld species are rare," she said. "Unfortunately, this is not true. Our scouts discover new Deathworlds every year. Most are too dangerous to approach. Some have life forms so alien that we cannot even understand them." The display changed again. Now it showed a blue and green planet that looked almost beautiful from space. White clouds swirled around continents and oceans that seemed peaceful and inviting. "This planet was discovered recently," HFY said. "It is called Earth. Do not let its appearance fool you. This may be the most dangerous Deathworld we have ever found." A young Silurian cadet raised her crystalline hand. "Commander, it looks like a garden world. What makes it so dangerous?" HFY smiled, but there was no humor in it. "The gravity, for one thing. It is exactly what we call one standard gravity unit. That means beings from most civilized worlds would be crushed flat the moment they set foot on the surface. But that is just the beginning." The display zoomed in to show Earth's surface. Images flashed by showing massive storms, erupting volcanoes, and earthquakes that split the ground open. Earth has extreme weather patterns that change without warning. Storms that can level entire cities. Hurricanes with winds strong enough to throw vehicles through the air. Tornadoes that can destroy everything in their path. Earthquakes that can swallow buildings whole. More images appeared. These showed various creatures that lived on Earth. A massive shark with rows of razor-sharp teeth. A bear standing on its hind legs towering over the camera. A small angry-looking mammal with claws and a fierce expression. But the weather is not the real danger, Zexhai continued. The life forms are. Earth is what we call a predator world. Almost every creature that lives there is designed to hunt and kill other creatures. They have evolved weapons like claws, teeth, venom, and natural armor. The entire planet is a battlefield where everything tries to eat everything else. The room was completely silent now. Even the energy beings had dimmed their glow as if trying to hide. The dominant species calls itself human, Zexhai said. Our limited observations suggest they are the most dangerous of all. They evolved as persistence hunters, capable of chasing prey for days without stopping. They have binocular vision like predators, forward-facing eyes designed for tracking movement. They have opposable thumbs that allow them to create and use complex tools. A new image appeared showing a human. It looked deceptively harmless, standing upright on two legs with pale skin and dark hair covering its head. But Zexhai pointed out details that made the cadets lean forward in their seats. Notice the muscle structure, she said. Humans are incredibly strong for their size. They can lift many times their own body weight. Their bones are dense and hard to break. Their healing rate is faster than most species. They can survive injuries that would kill almost any other intelligent being. She paused and let that sink in before continuing. But their physical abilities are not what makes them truly dangerous. Humans have survived multiple extinction events on their world. Ice ages, asteroid impacts, volcanic eruptions that blocked out their sun for years. Each time they adapted and became stronger. The display showed human artifacts and achievements. Stone tools that were thousands of years old, metal weapons of incredible complexity, machines that could fly through the air or travel beneath the oceans. They do not just survive their death world, Zexhai said. They have conquered it. They hunt the apex predators of their planet for sport. They climb the highest mountains for entertainment. They dive to the deepest parts of their oceans just to see what is there. They have even learned to fly, something their biology never intended. She clicked to the final slide of her presentation. It showed a simple statement in large, clear text. If you encounter a human, do not engage. Contact your superior officer immediately. Remember, cadets, Zexhai said, her forearms spread wide for emphasis. Humans evolved where everything tried to kill them every day. They are walking weapons systems that look like rational beings. They think like predators, move like hunters, and solve problems like survivors. Never forget that they come from a world that would kill you just by existing on it. As she spoke these final words, Zexhai noticed something odd. Most of the cadets were nodding and taking notes, their faces showing the appropriate level of concern. But in the back row, one figure sat perfectly still. Too still. She had assumed he was a centaurian, one of the taller, paler members of that species. But looking more carefully, she realized something was wrong. The proportions were not quite right. The bone structure was different. And those eyes, those were not centaurian eyes at all. They were forward-facing. Predator eyes. Marcus Chen kept his breathing steady as he felt the weight of Commander Zexhai's stare. For 6 months, he had worked hard to blend in at the academy. He wore loose uniforms that hid his unusual muscle mass. He walked carefully to avoid showing how easily he moved in what other species considered heavy gravity. He kept his voice quiet and his movements small. His admission papers listed him as Terran primate. Species classification pending. Most of the administrative staff had assumed this meant he was from some newly discovered colony world. The few who bothered to read closely thought Terran was just another name for a peaceful garden world. Marcus had not exactly lied about his origins. But he had not volunteered extra information either. When other cadets asked about his homeworld, he simply said it was a small planet in the Orion Arm and changed the subject. Now, as Commander Zexhai's 4 eyes focused on him with growing suspicion, Marcus knew his quiet months of studying and training were about to end. The other cadets began to notice something was wrong. Conversation stopped. Heads turned. The energy beings in their containment suits dimmed their light as they focused their attention on the back of the room. Zithara, the young Silurian who shared study sessions with Marcus, was the first to speak. Her crystalline voice carried clearly through the silent room. Marcus, is something wrong? Commander Zexhai took a step closer, her forearms moving into a defensive position that Marcus recognized from his combat training classes. Her crystalline skin had changed color slightly, shifting from blue to a more purple hue that Marcus had learned meant caution or alarm. Cadet, Zexai said slowly. Please state your full name and homeworld designation for the record. Marcus stood up smoothly, a movement that made several nearby cadets flinch. At his full height, he was taller than most species in the room, and his natural posture showed the kind of balance that came from a lifetime of dealing with dangerous situations. Marcus Chen, he said clearly. Born on Earth, Sol System, Orion Arm. The effect was immediate. Kleep, the methane-breathing Jovian who had helped Marcus with his chemistry homework, backed away so quickly that his environmental pod bumped into the cadet behind him. A group of Harmony Cluster energy beings actually flickered out of visible existence for a moment before reappearing in containment suits that had shifted to emergency. Morzithara's crystalline features went completely transparent with shock. Earth? She whispered. But that is, you are a Deathworlder, finished Veltar, a logical Voltharan whose gray-blue skin had gone pale. You are from the Predator world we just learned about. Marcus nodded calmly. Yes, I am human. The silence that followed was broken only by the quiet humming of translation devices and the environmental systems that kept the various species comfortable. On the holographic display behind Marcus, Earth continued to spin slowly, its blue and green surface now seeming much more threatening to everyone in the room. Commander Zexai found herself in a situation she had never faced before. Her training told her that Deathworlders were dangerous and unpredictable. The human in front of her should be a walking disaster, a barely controlled weapon that could kill everyone in the room without thinking about it. But Marcus Chen had been at the academy for 6 months. He had attended classes, completed assignments, and participated in group exercises. His instructors had noted that he was quiet but intelligent, helpful to other cadets, and showed excellent potential for leadership. More confusing still, he seemed completely calm. His heart rate had not increased. His breathing remained steady. His posture was relaxed and non-threatening. If Zexai had not known what he was, she would have said he was the most collected being in the room. How long have you been among us? She asked, her voice carefully controlled. 6 months at the academy, Marcus replied. But I have been traveling in galactic space for about 2 years. I studied on Centauri Prime before applying here. This revelation caused another wave of shocked murmurs. Piprin, a nervous energy being from the Harmony Cluster, spoke up in a voice that trembled with fear. You have been pretending to be civilized? For 2 years? Marcus tilted his head slightly, a gesture that several cadets interpreted as predatory behavior. I was not pretending, he said. I am civilized. Humans have laws, culture, art, science, and philosophy just like any other intelligent species. But you come from a death world, protested a young Altarian whose rocky skin had shifted to a dark, defensive color. You said yourself that everything on your planet tries to kill everything else. That is true, Marcus agreed. Earth is a dangerous place, but humans learned to work together to survive. We built cities, developed technology, and created societies. We did not just survive our world. We learned to protect it. Commander Zexai stepped closer, her professional curiosity beginning to overcome her caution. You speak of protection, but our intelligence reports suggest humans are aggressive hunters who kill for sport. Marcus considered this carefully before answering. Some humans hunt, yes, but it is more complicated than your reports might suggest. Most hunting is done for food, population control, or conservation. We have learned that sometimes you must manage animal populations to keep entire ecosystems healthy. Conservation? Zexai repeated the word as if it was foreign to her. You kill things to protect them? Sometimes, Marcus said. For example, if there are too many of one type of animal in an area, they can eat all the plants and destroy the habitat for other species. Controlled hunting can prevent this. The concept seemed to break several of the cadets' understanding of logic. Kleep's 6 compound eyes blinked in rapid sequence, a sign of deep confusion in his species. You harm individuals to help the group? When necessary, Marcus said. But we also do many other things. We have wildlife preserves, breeding programs for endangered species, and laws that protect animals from unnecessary harm. Many humans spend their lives studying and protecting other creatures. Zithara spoke up again, her voice small and confused. But Commander Zexai said humans are walking weapons, that you are predators designed to hunt and kill. Marcus looked around the room at all the frightened faces. He could see the fear in their eyes, the way they held themselves ready to run at the first sign of aggression. It made him sad to realize that this was how the galaxy saw his species. "I am strong," he admitted. "Human biology makes us physically capable in ways that most species are not. We can run long distances, lift heavy objects, and survive injuries that might kill others. But being capable of violence does not mean we choose violence." He gestured to the other cadets around him.
"I have been training alongside all of you for months."
"Have I hurt anyone? Have I shown any signs of the aggressive behavior your reports describe?" Commander Zexai had to admit that he had not. In fact, Marcus Chen had one of the cleanest disciplinary records in his class. He had never been involved in fights, had never shown inappropriate aggression during combat training, and had actually been noted for helping struggling cadets with their studies. "Then why are you here?" she asked. "What does a species that has conquered a death world want from the Galactic Defense Force?" Marcus smiled, an expression that showed his teeth in a way that made several cadets step backward, but his voice was gentle when he answered. "We want to learn," he said. "Earth taught us many things about survival and adaptation, but there is so much more to discover. Each species in this room has knowledge and abilities that humans do not possess. We want to be part of something bigger than just our own world." The room remained silent as everyone processed this answer. It was not what they had expected from a dangerous Deathworlder. There was no mention of conquest, domination, or violence, just a simple desire to learn and belong. Commander Zexai realized she was facing something unprecedented in her years of teaching. Here was a member of a species that should have been a terrifying enemy, asking to join the galactic community as a friend and student. The question was what to do about it. What happened next was unlike anything in the Academy's history. Instead of following protocol and calling security, Commander Zexai found herself genuinely curious about the human sitting calmly in her classroom. Her scientific mind began to take over from her survival instincts. "Cadet Chen," she said, "would you be willing to answer some questions about your species, for educational purposes?" Marcus nodded. "Of course, Commander. I understand that humans are new to galactic society. I am happy to help clear up any confusion." The other cadets looked uncertain. Half of them seemed ready to bolt from the room at the first sign of danger. The other half appeared fascinated by this chance to learn about a real Deathworlder. Slowly, they settled back into their seats, though most remained tense and ready to move quickly. Veltar, the logical Voltheran, was the first to speak up. "You mentioned that humans hunt for sport. Please clarify. Do you kill other creatures without needing them for food?" Marcus scratched his head, a casual gesture that made several cadets flinch at the display of his flexible joints. "Well, yes, some humans do hunt for sport, but it is more complicated than just killing for fun." "How can killing be complicated?" asked Piperin, the nervous energy being. "Sport hunting often serves multiple purposes," Marcus explained. "Sometimes it helps control animal populations that have grown too large. Sometimes it provides funding for conservation programs. The money hunters pay for licenses goes to protect wildlife and habitats." Commander Zexai interrupted. "You are saying that humans kill animals to protect them? This seems contradictory." "Think of it like pruning a garden," Marcus said. "You cut away some parts to help the whole plant grow better. If deer become too numerous in a forest, they eat all the young trees and destroy the habitat for many other species. Controlled hunting can prevent this damage." The concept still seemed to confuse most of the cadets, but Zexai gestured for him to continue. "What other activities do humans do for sport?" Marcus smiled, not realizing that showing his teeth made him look more predatory to the other species. "Oh, lots of things. We climb mountains, dive to the bottom of oceans, jump out of aircraft, surf on giant waves." "Wait," interrupted Zithara, her crystalline voice rising with alarm. "You jump out of aircraft? Deliberately? While they are flying?" "Sure," Marcus said casually. "It is called skydiving. You wear a parachute that opens and lets you float safely to the ground. It is actually quite peaceful once you get past the initial fear." The room erupted in shocked murmurs. Kleep's 6 eyes blinked rapidly as he tried to process this information. You deliberately put yourself in mortal danger. For entertainment? I suppose it sounds strange when you put it that way," Marcus admitted. "But humans enjoy testing their limits. We like challenges that push us to be stronger, faster, or braver." "Tell us about mountain climbing," suggested Dr. Yelhan, the xenopsychologist who had quietly entered the room during the discussion. As a Xantharian, her pale green skin and large dark eyes made her look fragile compared to Marcus. But her voice carried authority. Well, Marcus began, mountains are tall rock formations on Earth. Some are several kilometers high. The air gets thin at the top and the temperature drops well below freezing. Humans climb them using ropes, special tools, and protective clothing. But why? Asked an Altarian cadet whose rocky skin had shifted to a confused brown color. What is the purpose of going to a place that is dangerous and uncomfortable? Marcus thought for a moment. I guess it is about proving to yourself that you can do it. When you reach the top of a mountain, you have accomplished something difficult. You have tested your strength, endurance, and determination. And surfing, Dr. Yelhan prompted. That is riding on top of ocean waves using a flatboard, Marcus explained. The waves can be very large and powerful, sometimes taller than buildings. Surfers use balance and skill to ride them toward shore. The waves are dangerous? Feltar asked. Very dangerous, Marcus confirmed. The water is powerful enough to break bones or hold you underwater until you drown. But that is part of the challenge. Humans have learned to read the ocean, to understand how waves work and to use their power instead of fighting against it. Piprin's energy form flickered with distress. This makes no sense. Why would anyone choose to do something that could kill them? Because overcoming fear makes you stronger, Marcus said simply. Every time you face something dangerous and succeed, you become more confident, more capable. Humans believe that growth comes from challenge. Commander HFY leaned forward. You spoke of diving to the bottom of oceans. Explain this. Earth's oceans are very deep, Marcus said. In some places, they go down several kilometers. Humans have built special vehicles that can survive the pressure and explore the deepest parts. We have also learned to hold our breath and dive down without equipment, though not as far. What could possibly be worth such risk? Asked Zithara. Knowledge, Marcus replied. The deep ocean is full of creatures and places we have never seen. Each expedition teaches us something new about our world. Some of the most important discoveries in human science came from exploring dangerous places. Dr. Yelhan made notes on her personal device. These activities suggest that humans have turned survival instincts into recreational pursuits. You have made games out of the very dangers that shaped your evolution. I never thought of it that way, Marcus said. But I suppose that is accurate. Humans do not just survive dangerous situations. We seek them out as ways to test and improve ourselves. Tell us about the most dangerous thing on your world, Zithara said suddenly. Commander HFY showed us images of large predators with teeth and claws. Which one kills the most humans? Marcus considered this question seriously. The room fell silent as everyone waited for his answer. They expected him to describe some massive monster with razor-sharp teeth or poisonous claws, probably mosquitoes, he said. Finally, the translation devices worked for several seconds before the meaning became clear. Several cadets looked confused as if they had misheard. Mosquitoes? Commander HFY repeated. What are mosquitoes? Small flying insects, Marcus explained. They bite humans and other animals to drink their blood. The bites themselves are not dangerous, but mosquitoes carry diseases that can kill people. How large are these mosquitoes? HFY asked, already dreading the answer. Marcus held up his thumb and forefinger, showing a space smaller than most beings' smallest digit. About this big. The room fell completely silent. Every species present tried to process the idea that the most deadly creature on a death world was smaller than a grain of rice. You are saying, Veltar said slowly, that tiny insects are more dangerous than the massive predators in your presentation? Diseases kill more humans than large predators, Marcus confirmed. Sharks, bears, and big cats are dangerous, but they are also rare and easy to avoid. Mosquitoes are everywhere, and you cannot always see them coming. This revelation seemed to disturb the cadets more than anything else Marcus had told them. The idea that something so small could be so deadly challenged their understanding of how danger worked. Dr. Yelhan looked up from her notes. How do humans defend against these mosquitoes? Repellent chemicals, protective clothing, elimination of breeding sites, Marcus listed. We have also developed medicines to treat the diseases they carry. It is an ongoing battle, but we have learned to manage the risk. You fight a war against insects, Kleep said, his compound eyes wide with amazement. Marcus shrugged. We fight wars against lots of things. Disease, natural disasters, hunger, ignorance. Humans have learned that survival means constant adaptation and improvement. As the questions continued, a strange thing began to happen. The fear in the room started to transform into something else. The cadets were still nervous around Marcus, but their curiosity was growing stronger than their terror. Here was a living example of everything they had been taught about Deathworlds, but he was nothing like what they had expected. Dr. Yelhan set down her recording device and looked directly at Marcus. As the Academy's chief xenopsychologist, she had studied dozens of alien species, but she had never had the chance to interview a Deathworlder before. This was a unique opportunity to understand how such creatures thought and felt. "Marcus," she said, "I would like to explore something deeper. You have described humans as capable of great violence and danger, but you have also mentioned cooperation and protection. Help us understand how these things work together." Marcus shifted in his seat, thinking carefully about how to explain something that seemed natural to him, but clearly confused the other species. "I suppose it starts with how humans define strength," he said finally. "Many species might think strength means being able to defeat enemies or survive alone. But humans learned early that our greatest strength comes from working together." "Elaborate," Dr. Yelhan encouraged. "A single human is tough, but not that impressive compared to some of Earth's predators," Marcus explained. "A bear is stronger. A big cat is faster. A shark is more dangerous in water. But humans learn to hunt in groups, share information, and support each other. That is how we became the dominant species." Zithara raised her crystalline hand. "But how does cooperation work with violence? These seem opposite." "Not really," Marcus said. "Humans will fight very hard to protect the people they care about. A human who would never hurt anyone for personal gain might become incredibly dangerous if someone threatens their family or community." Commander Zexhai leaned forward. "So human aggression is defensive rather than predatory?" "Often yes," Marcus agreed. "Though humans can also be aggressive when competing for resources or territory. The difference is that we have learned to channel that aggression into less harmful activities." "Such as?" Dr. Yelhan prompted. Marcus grinned, again not realizing how his expression affected the other species. "Sports, mostly. Humans love competitive games where we can test our skills against each other without actually causing serious harm. We have team sports where groups work together to defeat other groups. Individual sports where people push themselves to be faster, stronger, or more skilled than others." "You turn violence into games?" Cleep asked, his compound eyes blinking rapidly. "In a way, yes," Marcus said. "We have boxing, where two people fight with protective equipment and safety rules. We have racing, where people compete to be fastest. We have team sports where groups try to outmaneuver each other using strategy and skill." Veltar, the logical Voltharin, nodded slowly. "This makes sense from an evolutionary perspective. You maintain the benefits of competitive behavior while reducing the actual harm." "Exactly," Marcus agreed. "But it goes beyond just competition. Humans also work together in ways that might surprise you." Dr. Yelhan pulled up her recording device again. "Tell us about human cooperation." Marcus thought for a moment. "Well, humans regularly give parts of their own bodies to save other humans. We donate blood, organs, even bone marrow to strangers who need them to survive." This statement caused another wave of shocked murmurs through the room. Pipperin's energy form flickered with distress. You give away pieces of yourself." "To people you do not know?" "All the time," Marcus said casually. "Human blood can be safely shared between individuals with compatible types. One human can donate blood several times a year without any harm to themselves, and that blood can save lives in emergency situations." "And organs?" Commander Zexhai asked, her forearms moving in a gesture that suggested deep confusion. "Humans have some organs we can live without, or organs where we only need part of them to survive," Marcus explained. "A living human can donate one kidney, part of their liver, or bone marrow to help someone else. When humans die, they can donate their hearts, lungs, and other organs to save multiple lives." The room was silent except for the humming of the environmental systems. The concept of voluntarily giving away body parts was so alien to most species that they struggled to process it. "Why?" Zithara whispered. "Why would anyone do such a thing?" Marcus looked around the room at all the confused and frightened faces. "Because helping others survive makes the entire species stronger," he said simply. "A human who receives a donated organ might go on to cure diseases, raise children, or create art that benefits everyone. Saving one life can have effects that ripple out to help thousands." Dr. Yelhan was writing notes as fast as her hands could move. "This suggests that humans have evolved beyond simple survival instincts. You have developed ethical systems that prioritize the good of the group over individual advantage." I suppose so, Marcus agreed. Though it is not just about ethics. Humans are social creatures. We are happiest when we are part of a community that cares for each other. Helping others makes us feel good about ourselves. But you also described recreational activities that seem to celebrate individual achievement, Veltar pointed out. Mountain climbing, ocean diving, jumping from aircraft. How does this fit with community-focused behavior? Marcus smiled again. Those activities often involve teams too. Mountain climbers work together, sharing equipment and watching out for each other's safety. Divers use buddy systems where they never go alone. Even individual sports like running often involve coaches, trainers, and support teams. And when someone succeeds in these dangerous activities? Dr. Yelhan asked. The whole community celebrates, Marcus said. When a human climbs a difficult mountain or sets a new record, it inspires others to push their own limits. Individual achievement becomes a gift to the entire species. Kleep's environmental pod hummed as he processed this information. So humans use dangerous activities to inspire each other? You turn personal risk into community benefit? That is one way to look at it, Marcus agreed. Humans believe that we are all stronger when each individual reaches their full potential. We encourage each other to take risks, try new things, and push boundaries. Commander Zexhai had been listening carefully to the entire conversation. As a military officer, she understood the value of both individual skill and team cooperation. But the way Marcus described human society was unlike anything she had encountered. Tell us about how humans handle conflict, she said. What happens when groups of humans disagree? Marcus's expression became more serious. Sometimes humans fight wars, he admitted. We have not eliminated violence from our society entirely, but we have also developed many ways to resolve conflicts without fighting, such as negotiation, compromise, legal systems that settle disputes fairly, Marcus listed. Most human societies have courts where disagreements can be resolved by neutral parties. We have diplomatic systems for international conflicts. We have democratic processes where groups can make decisions together. But you still have wars, Veltar observed. Yes, Marcus said sadly. Usually when these peaceful methods fail, or when some humans decide to use violence to get what they want. But even in war, most humans try to follow rules that limit unnecessary harm. We have agreements about protecting civilians, caring for wounded enemies, and treating prisoners humanely. Dr. Yelhan looked up from her notes. You have rules for violence? You make war more civilized? We try to, Marcus said. Humans learned that uncontrolled violence destroys everything, including the things we are fighting to protect. So we developed ways to fight that preserve what is important, while still defending ourselves. The conversation continued for another hour, as the cadets asked question after question about human society, biology and psychology. With each answer, their understanding of Deathworlders began to shift. These were not mindless monsters driven by instinct to kill and destroy. They were intelligent beings who had learned to channel their dangerous abilities into positive purposes. As the formal class time ended, none of the cadets seemed eager to leave. They clustered around Marcus asking about human art, music, literature, and science. They wanted to know about human families, friendships, and love. They discovered that despite their reputation as violent predators, humans had created rich cultures full of beauty, wisdom, and compassion. Commander Zexhai watched this transformation with fascination. In just a few hours, a room full of terrified cadets had become genuinely interested in learning from a member of one of the galaxy's most feared species. It suggested possibilities she had never imagined. As the discussion wound down, Dr. Yelhan asked the question that everyone had been thinking about. She set down her recording device and looked directly at Marcus with her large, dark eyes. Marcus, she said carefully, I think I speak for everyone here when I say that you have challenged our understanding of Deathworld species, but I must ask, why are you here? What does a species that has already conquered one of the most dangerous worlds in the galaxy want from the rest of us? The room fell silent. This was the heart of the matter, the question that would determine whether Marcus Chen was a student seeking knowledge or a scout preparing the way for an invasion. Every species in the room had heard stories of aggressive civilizations that expanded through conquest and domination. Marcus was quiet for a long moment, looking around at all the faces watching him. He could see the mixture of curiosity and lingering fear in their expressions. These beings had spent the last few hours learning about humans, but they still did not fully trust him, and perhaps they were right to be cautious. "That is a fair question," he said finally, "and I want to give you an honest answer." He stood up slowly, a movement that still made some of the cadets tense despite everything they had learned. At his full height, Marcus could see over everyone in the room except Commander HFY. But instead of seeming threatening, his posture was open and relaxed. "Earth taught humanity many things," Marcus began. "We learned how to survive in a hostile environment. We learned to work together against common threats. We learned to adapt quickly when conditions changed. These are all valuable skills, and they have served us well." He paused, gathering his thoughts before continuing. "But Earth also taught us something else. We learned what happens when a species becomes too successful, too dominant, too isolated." Dr. Yelhan leaned forward with interest. "Explain." "Humans have a long history of civilizations that grew powerful and then destroyed themselves," Marcus said. "Sometimes through war, sometimes through environmental damage, sometimes through simple stagnation. We learned that no matter how strong you are, you cannot survive alone forever." He gestured to the diverse group around him. "Every species in this room has something unique and valuable to offer. The Silurian mathematical systems are more elegant than anything humans have developed. Altarian engineering creates structures that last for thousands of years. Voltharan logic helps solve problems that emotion and instinct cannot handle." Zithara spoke up, her crystalline voice carrying a note of confusion. "But humans are described as apex predators. Why would predators seek to learn from their prey?" Marcus smiled gently. "Because the strongest predators on Earth are the ones that learned not to hunt everything they could catch. Wolves work in packs and follow migration patterns that keep their prey populations healthy. Sharks maintain the balance of ocean ecosystems by removing weak and sick fish. The most successful predators on Earth are the ones that became protectors of their environment." This concept seemed to resonate with Commander HFY. As a military officer, she understood the difference between destructive violence and protective force. "You see yourselves as guardians rather than conquerors?" "We hope to be," Marcus said honestly. "Human history is not perfect. We have made mistakes, caused harm, and learned from our failures. But our species is trying to grow beyond simple survival toward something better." Kleep's compound eyes focused on Marcus with new interest. "What do humans hope to achieve by joining galactic civilization?" Marcus looked out at the stars visible through the Academy's great windows. "We want to learn everything we can about the universe. We want to understand different ways of thinking, different approaches to problems, different forms of art and beauty. We want to contribute our own knowledge while gaining wisdom from others." "And if other species do not want humans among them?" Veltar asked with typical Voltharan directness. "Then we will respect that choice," Marcus replied. "Humans believe in something called consent. We do not force our presence where it is not wanted. But we hope that given time, other species will see that we have something positive to offer." Dr. Yelhan had been taking notes throughout this conversation. Now she looked up with a thoughtful expression. "You speak of contribution. What specifically do humans bring to galactic civilization?" Marcus considered this carefully. "Resilience, adaptability, and a different perspective on problem solving. Humans have experience dealing with rapid change, unexpected dangers, and resource scarcity. We might be able to help other species prepare for challenges they have not faced before." "What kind of challenges?" Commander HFY asked. "The universe is a dangerous place," Marcus said simply. "There are natural disasters, resource conflicts, and unknown threats that no single species can handle alone. Humans have experience, working together under pressure, making difficult decisions quickly, and finding solutions when traditional approaches fail." He paused and looked around the room again. "But more than that, humans bring enthusiasm for life itself. We love exploring new places, trying new things, and pushing the boundaries of what is possible. We think the galaxy would be more interesting, with many different species working together, than with any one group trying to control everything." Piprin's energy form flickered as she processed this. You want to make the galaxy more exciting? Marcus laughed, a sound that was surprisingly warm and friendly, despite coming from a supposed predator. I suppose that is one way to put it. Humans believe that diversity makes everything stronger and more beautiful. A garden with many different plants is more resilient and interesting than one with only a single species. The conversation was interrupted by the arrival of Admiral Corex, the Academy's commanding officer. The elderly Zentorian moved slowly into the room, his pale blue skin wrinkled with age but his large eyes still sharp and intelligent. All the cadets immediately stood at attention. Commander Zexhai, Admiral Corex said, I understand you have had an unusual class today. Yes, sir, Zexhai replied formally. We have discovered that Cadet Chen is human, from the recently discovered Deathworld Earth. We have been conducting an informal interview to better understand his species. The Admiral's gaze settled on Marcus, who stood calmly under the scrutiny. I see. And what have you learned, Cadet Chen? Marcus met the Admiral's eyes without flinching. I have learned that different species often misunderstand each other based on incomplete information, sir. I hope I have helped provide a more complete picture of humanity. Admiral Corex nodded slowly. Indeed. I have been monitoring this conversation through the Academy's recording systems. Your answers have been illuminating. The old Admiral moved to the front of the room, his presence commanding immediate respect from everyone present. Cadets, you have witnessed something historic today. This is the first formal contact between our educational system and a representative of a Deathworld species. He turned to address Marcus directly. Cadet Chen, based on what I have observed, I believe your species may have much to offer galactic civilization. However, this decision is not mine alone to make. I will be forwarding a complete record of today's discussion to the Galactic Council for review. Marcus nodded respectfully. I understand, sir. I am prepared to answer any additional questions the Council might have. I expect you will, the Admiral said with what might have been a slight smile. In the meantime, you will continue your studies here at the Academy. I trust your fellow cadets will treat you with the same respect they show to any other student. He looked around the room at the other cadets. All of you have learned something important today. You have discovered that our preconceptions about other species are not always accurate. This lesson will serve you well if you become officers in the Galactic Defense Force. As Admiral Corex left the room, the cadets began to relax. The formal interview was over, but the real conversation was just beginning. Instead of avoiding Marcus or treating him as a dangerous threat, they gathered around him with new questions about Earth, human culture, and the possibility of friendship between their species. Zithara was the first to speak. Marcus, would you be willing to teach us more about human culture? I am particularly interested in your mathematical systems and scientific methods. I would be happy to, Marcus replied, and I would love to learn about Silurian crystal harmonics. I have heard they can solve equations that our computers struggle with. Kleep approached more cautiously, his environmental pod humming with nervous energy. Perhaps we could study together again? I find your perspective on chemistry problems quite helpful, even if your methods are unconventional. Marcus grinned. Of course, though I should warn you, human chemistry involves a lot of explosions and toxic reactions. We learned to work with dangerous materials because that was all our world gave us. Instead of being frightened by this admission, Kleep seemed excited. Excellent. My species would be fascinated to learn about chemistry under extreme conditions. As the conversation continued, Commander Zexhai realized that something unprecedented was happening. A room that had started the day filled with fear and suspicion was ending with the seeds of genuine friendship and cooperation. The Deathworlder that should have been their greatest threat was becoming their most interesting teacher.